Well, we wanted to welcome everybody, excuse me, to our Health, Wealth, and Happiness webinar that's designed for women by women. And we wanted to congratulate you for being here today. We're glad to see you, and hopefully you'll learn something that you can implement into your own financial strategies. So this is part of a two-part series. The first is the webinar that you're attending, excuse me, right now. And the next will be a courtesy call from us that will give you an opportunity to ask specific questions that may not have been answered during this webinar presentation. At that time, we're also happy to schedule a free strategy session via Zoom or in person. So what we like to ask people is what brought you here? And when we ask that question, we'd like you to jot it down. Hopefully we'll cover that information in this webinar today. If not, or if we don't touch on something in depth, we'd like you to, again, ask us those questions when we give you a call. And also when you schedule that strategy session, we'll be able to answer them more in depth. So one of the things that we can promise you today is that you will walk away with more information than when you started. You will learn something. From the webinars that we've given, most of the women were satisfied with what they've learned and are looking forward to talking to us a little bit more. So when we talk about women, and I've been dealing with women in financial services for the last 37 years, women are more likely to have a career break. They're more likely to be a caregiver, make less income than their male counterparts, live longer than their male counterparts, their spouses. And all of the women that I've worked with are concerned about running out of money and being a burden to their children. This creates a lot of stress and anxiety when it comes to their money. So let's start with caregiving. 75% of caregivers in the US are women. And what this does is obviously it takes a financial and emotional toll on all of us who have been caregivers or all of us who have known somebody that has been in that situation. My mom was sick with cancer for 6 years. The last 2 years was a little bit rough. I had to take a lot of time out of work, which I don't regret at all, but it did take a toll on my finances and my business. One of the fastest growing populations or segments is women that are entering widowhood at the average age of 59 years old. And when that happens, obviously there's a loss of income. One of the Social Security checks goes away, part of the pension may go away. And what a lot of women don't realize is that if their spouse passes away, they're going to end up paying a lot more in taxes, which we'll cover later on in the webinar. So it's important that you get involved in your finances today so that you know what's going on and you can make the right decisions and manage your money the way that you would like to. The second fastest growing population or segment in the US is divorce, and divorce between the ages of 55 and 64. And what that leads us to is, again, we have a lot of emotions going around, and we need to figure out how to manage our finances, because the same thing happens if you became a widow, right? You're going to lose part of your income. You're going to lose part of your assets in this case. I'm working with a woman right now whose husband drank a little bit too much and he didn't work that much. And so what she's facing, as she has 2 teenage girls that are getting ready to go to college, is losing half of the money that she saved, and on top of that, paying her soon-to-be ex alimony. So this area is something, again, that we want you to, again, take care of your finances and understand what's going on with them so that you're in a better position. Hopefully divorce won't happen, but if it does, you'll know what to do. The average women earn 82 cents less for every dollar, I should say, for what their male counterparts are earning. So what this does is it creates a situation that, in general, women are saving less money in their 401ks. They have less pension benefits if they are eligible for a pension, and their Social Security benefits are less than their male counterparts in most cases who are doing the same job. Longevity, there's good and bad with longevity. 80%, interesting fact, women will die single, where 80% of men die married. This 80% means that at some point in time, we women are going to be in charge of our own finances. And again, the earlier that we start to understand where we are and we understand that what we want to happen with our money, the better off we're going to be. Because again, the biggest concern that women have is outliving their money. So here, what our mission is to help you create less stress and a lot more certainty in your financial plan. We want to give you the opportunity to explore solutions, be educated on those solutions so that we can ultimately help you reduce stress and anxiety that comes along with managing your money. And we want to make sure that whatever the purpose of your money is, that we can guide you to a more confident future. So when we take a look at working with women over the last 37 years plus, we find that most women aren't looking just for a bunch of investments. They're looking for a lifetime income plan. They're looking for a lifestyle plan. And once they have certainty in that plan, then they want to look at the financial tools or products that are going to help them accomplish their goals so that they can feel confident about their money lasting as long as they do. Because again, we as women don't want to be a burden on our kids or anybody else. We want to make sure that our money lasts as long as we do. So when we take a look at the idea of holistic planning, most financial advisors are actually prohibited from talking to you about all of these areas. Here, what we do is we have experts in all of these fields. We do money management, insurance, estate planning, Social Security, healthcare, and taxes. Taxes in particular can take the biggest bite out of your retirement. And we want to make sure that all of these pieces of the puzzle are integrated together so that you truly have a holistic plan and that you're not working in a silo. We do that by listening to you. We want to design a customized plan that's designed for what you want to do with your money. Then we take a look at a disciplined investment approach. Where should your money be? Is somebody monitoring it? Is it in the right place? And we give you a team which gives you a fiduciary approach. So when we talk about a fiduciary, what is a fiduciary? This word is thrown out quite a bit. And simply, a fiduciary has to act in your best interest. We here are all certified financial fiduciaries. In order to take a look at being a fiduciary, we really have to understand holistic planning. And a true fiduciary will look at all the pieces of your puzzle together because we believe that your money buys you choices. Quite simply, right? The more money we have, the more choices we have. If we have less money, we may be limited in our choices, but we want to make sure that we're doing the best we can. So we ask people, what's the purpose of your money? And women all have a purpose of their money. Sometimes it's not as well defined as you might like it to be. When we take a look at things, we take a look at your financial situation more like a chess game as opposed to a checker game. Our goal is to take a look at what moves you should be making now, and then forward thinking, just like in chess, taking a look at all of the obstacles that might derail your plan or might get in the way and having contingencies for those plans. So what will you fund with your money? Remember we said that money will give you choices. Your money is designed to fund your lifestyle. And so will you travel? Will you just hang out on the beach? Are you looking to give more to charity or volunteer more? Can you afford to do that? How do you do that in the most tax efficient way? Do you want to make memories with the folks that you love? Or do you want to help your kids and grandkids through college or help them pay some of the college tuition bills? I have a woman that we're working with right now. She's in her mid-70s. Her daughter has had some mental challenges. She has raised her 3 grandkids and committed to them at age 76 to pay over $40,000 a year in tuition. In order to do that, She needs to understand where her money is, and she needs to make sure first that she's not going to run out of money. So if this is something that you're planning or any of those things, we want to make sure that you can accomplish what you want. Do you want to leave a legacy? Do you want to do you want to leave money to your kids or grandkids in the right way? Do you want to start a foundation? So when we take a look at your retirement plan, we want to make sure that your health care, your Social Security, your investments, long-term care, tax efficiency of your money so that we're not overpaying taxes is all working an integrated plan, right? When folks come to me, a lot of times what they'll do is it's like dumping 1,000-piece puzzle on the conference room table. And our job is to figure out how to put those pieces of the puzzle together. We'll start with the ends and then we fill in the middle. Your financial plan is quite similar to that. So the questions that we want to help you answer is, how do I make sure I never run out of money? Is that possible? Is my plan and my financial tools, my money in the right place? And how do I develop an active lifestyle plan with an income strategy? Because we understand, especially for women, that those paychecks coming in are important. And then having money for what we call a play check to fund some of those activities is important as well. So how do I develop that type of a plan where we can have paychecks and play checks? Can I support all of my interests in charities? Can I afford to keep living my lifestyle? As I get older, I don't want to become a burden to my kids. And what about long-term care? Most women that I've talked to over the years, whether they have a little bit or a lot of money, they're concerned about long-term care wiping out their assets, and they don't want to become a burden on anybody. And then what happens if we don't use all of our money? What's the best way to leave it to our kids, our grandkids, and to charities? How can I leave it in the most tax efficient way so that Uncle Sam doesn't become one of my beneficiaries? So let's start with one of your income streams. And one of those income streams, as you know, is Social Security. And we want to take a look at Social Security as a pension. And Social Security really needs to be integrated in with the rest of your income streams and or investments. So your full retirement age is on the right-hand side. When we take a look at that, your full retirement age monthly benefit that you're going to collect, or Social Security tells you that you can collect, comes from your last 35 years of highest earnings. If you haven't gone on the site ssa.gov, we would encourage you to do that. If you're not collecting Social Security yet, it's a great site. It's going to tell you what your full retirement age benefit is, what your benefit will be if you collect early, if you collect later. Social Security, again, is a math problem, as we like to say, right? When to collect it is going to be based on your other assets and, like I said, your other income stream. So how early can we collect Social Security? We can collect it as early as 62, but what would happen at age 62, depending on when your full retirement age is you would actually take a reduction in your benefits anywhere from 25 to 30%. Most Americans do collect their Social Security early, and the only reason they do that is because somebody told them they should, right? Which is typically maybe your best friend, one of your relatives, or somebody else said, hey, I'm 62, I can collect that monthly income, so I want to do it before Social Security goes broke. So I just want to spend a minute on that. Is Social Security going to go broke for us? The answer is no. One, it'll never go broke. If they do nothing, Congress will always do something because Social Security and Medicare are too big of an elephant to turn around. But if they do nothing and nobody acts on it, could our benefits be reduced by 20% or so? The answer is yes, but the odds of that happening are very slim. So if you're going to collect Social Security at 62, you need to ask yourself a couple questions. How's your health? Are you going to keep working? We're going to discuss what the penalty may be if you keep working. Should I collect it at my full retirement age or at age 65 when I collect Medicare? Again, it's a math problem. We want to help you do those calculations so that you know when the best time to collect is. what happens if I wait past my full retirement age to 68, 69, or 70 years old? Well, every year that you wait, Social Security will add another 8% automatically to your benefit amount. So your benefit will increase by 8%. In addition to that 8%, it will also increase by the cost of living adjustment that Social Security had announced. So last year, if you were 66 or 67, your full retirement age, and you decided to wait, your Social Security would have actually been bumped up greater than 16%. You would have got a 16% raise, 8% for waiting a year after your full retirement age. And then the COLA last year, as you know, was about 8.7%. So add those two together, and that would be your raise. So again, does it make sense to wait until 70? The answer is it depends on your own financial situation and your finances, something that we can help you determine when is the best time to collect. So if you're going to continue working and you collect your Social Security early, if you make more than $21,000 in 2023, Social Security will withhold $1 for every $2 of earnings above that $21,000. If you are at full retirement age, during that year of full retirement age, if you earn more than $56,000, $1 for every $3 in benefits will be withheld. Now, if your birthday is in January, February, March, April, or May, most likely you won't hit that 56,000. But if your birthday is in October, November, or December, you want to be careful of this limit. And then when your birthday comes and you hit your full retirement age, during that year, there's no limit on money that you can make. So at your full retirement age, you can make $100,000 or $200,000, and Social Security is not going to withhold anything from your benefit. So let's take a look at married, divorced, and widowed folks. There are benefits for each one of those groups. If you're married and you were a caregiver or you took care of your kids for most of your working years, and you don't have a lot of Social Security built up. So your full retirement age benefit, let's say, is $800, and you're married and your spouse's benefit is $3,000 a month at their full retirement age. Once they start collecting, you're entitled to 50% of what their full retirement age benefit is. Okay, so if your benefit was $800 a month, you would be entitled to a $700 bump in those benefits. So you would be collecting $1,500. Those same benefits apply to divorced folks. The key here is that you would have had to been married for at least 10 years in order to collect a spousal benefit. Your ex will not know that you're collecting off of his benefit, and it does not affect his benefit at all. So you want to know the rules, whether you're married or divorced, and if you have a low Social Security benefit yourself, but your spouse or ex-spouse may have been higher. And people who lost their spouse are entitled to widow benefits, and those widow benefits can start as early as age 60. If you're 60 and you start collecting your widow benefits, you will take a pay cut, if you will, on that full benefit that your deceased spouse had of about 30%. So you want to be aware of what the rules are. You want to be aware of what your own financial situation is. And in some cases, you may want to collect that widow's benefit at 60 or 62, but you also want to be aware of what we talked about before. That rule where if you earn more than that $21,000 comes into effect, they will withhold $1 for every $2 benefits that you earn. So we're going to encourage you again to come in and talk to us, whether you're married, whether you're divorced, or whether you're widowed. If you haven't started collecting Social Security, come on in or schedule a Zoom call so that we can go over some of these strategies and which one might be best for you. Social Security doesn't necessarily volunteer information that's going to particularly benefit your situation because they're not allowed to. They're allowed to give you the numbers and they're allowed to tell you the facts. But unfortunately, sometimes they may lead you in the wrong direction. So you want to get advice from somebody, again, who understands this piece of your financial puzzle. If you're lucky enough to have a pension, you also want to understand this income stream. So when it comes to pension options, or when it comes to your spouse's pension options, you're going to have a choice of collecting a higher benefit, which is called a single life, or you have a joint with rights of survivorship. And that survivorship benefit could range anywhere from 25% to 100%. So you want to examine all of the pension options, and again, take a look at what's in your best interest based on your own financial situation. Again, when it comes to your financial income plan and financial lifestyle plan, you really can't take your friend's advice. You want to talk with an expert who can integrate all of these things for you, so that you have the most money and are paying the least amount of taxes. Because without proper planning and analysis, you could forfeit hundreds of thousands of dollars during your lifetime. There is not a one size fits all. And if somebody is directing you, or a bunch of people, into just one type of program or product, you may want to run from that, because you need somebody that's going to educate you and take the time to show you why something, again, is in your best interest, and take a look at a more coordinated plan. So let's talk about money and investing. Women, like we had said, for the most part are at a disadvantage because they have earned less than their male counterparts. So what that leads to is less money in savings, less money in 401ks, which means that the money that we do have really matters. And we need to make sure that we're not just in a set it and forget it mode when it comes to our investments. A lot of us have saved in 401ks, and we've kind of did a set it and forget it mode. We just kept putting the money in, putting the money in, putting the money in. We didn't really have somebody analyze where it was going. And now what we're doing is we're entering into a distribution phase, either because we need that money to supplement our lifestyle, which is why you had saved it, or you're required to take that money out because you're 73 now and your required minimum distributions are coming out. You need to do an audit on your investments. Make sure that you're not taking on too little or too much risk, and make sure that those investments are going to help provide the income that you want them to provide in your retirement. So it's important to understand your healthcare options, and obviously long-term care options, which we're going to cover next. It has never been so important for women in particular to understand the connection of health and wealth. And this became more prevalent since the pandemic, right? We've seen people that got sick. We valued our health. We take a look at our money. We want to maybe retire a little bit earlier. But our money needs to last as long as we do. And if we do develop a health issue, we want to make sure that we have choices. Again, remember what I said before, money is there to give you choices. So health and wealth are really connected. In retirement, and this does not include dental, it does not include vision, hearing aids, or anything like that. And dental work in retirement is a significant cost. We're working with a couple right now who needed to take out close to $50,000 just to pay for dental work, just for one person. So we need to account for those unexpected costs. But a retiring couple today is projected to spend $285,000 for medical expenses, and that's only counting Medicare, prescriptions, copays, deductibles. And when we talk about single women, the estimated cost is about $150,000. If you're not thinking about this and incorporating this into your plan, you really need to do so. Talk to us. We're happy to give you strategies. We're happy to give you a second opinion on your plan. And so when we talk about affordable health care, if you're retiring before you're on Medicare, and if your company is not paying for your health care until you collect Medicare, it's important to factor in about $1,000 a month for a single plan for health insurance. I myself am paying $1,000 a month for my health care. So that's a real number. that becomes important as you're looking at financial strategies and potentially retiring before you're going to collect Medicare. So let's talk about Medicare. Medicare has Part A, which most people sign up at 65, excuse me. And Part A covers your hospital, your skilled care, and your hospice. Part A is free as long as you have enough credits, 40 credits into Social Security. Part B, which covers your doctors and your outpatient services, right now has cost us about $165 a month. Part B is something that we sign up for when our health care at work ends. And so there's a certain period of time, it's 1 month before, 6 months later, that we really want to sign up for Medicare. And we can talk a little bit more about that on our strategy call. So in addition to Medicare Part A and Part B, a lot of folks take what we call a Medigap plan, which is one of the Medicare supplements. A Medigap plan is more expensive. It's going to cost you approximately $180 a month. But a Medigap plan is like paying for your healthcare coverage in advance. Once you pay a deductible, could be small deductible, could be a couple $1,000 deductible. Everything that Medicare doesn't cover is covered at 100%. My mom had a Medigap plan. I told you that she had went through cancer treatments for 6 years at Dana-Farber. Her bills were in excess of $2 million. She had a Medigap plan and paid nothing for that health care. So Medigap has its place. If you want to make sure that you have coverage anywhere, at any hospital, with any doctor, you may want to consider a Medigap plan. It will cost you more. In addition to the Medigap plan, you also are going to need a prescription drug card. So if you have a Medigap plan, you would have 3 cards in essence. You'd have a Medicare card, you'd have your Medigap card, that Medicare supplement, and then you would have a prescription drug card, I'm sorry. So the other plan that you're going to find that most people that you talk to have is what we call Part C, and that's our Medicare Advantage plan. And the Medicare Advantage plan is Blue Cross, Aetna, Cigna, United Health, and those companies are contracted by Medicare to take control and manage your Medicare plan. Okay, a Medicare Advantage plan typically could cost you anywhere from $0 to maybe $30 or $80 a month, depending on what type of plan that you have. A Medicare Advantage plan, though, is like a pay-as-you-go plan. It doesn't cost you much upfront, but it's going to cost you more, especially if you get sick, for different tests. You'll have more copays for ambulance visits, for whatever it might be. So you want to, again, examine Medicare costs, Medigap versus Medicare Advantage. We here are certified to handle this for you. So again, feel free to give us a call, and we're happy to again, talk to you about this important piece of your puzzle. One piece that a lot of financial advisors don't talk about because either they can't or they don't know about it is this surcharge on your Medicare premium. So if you look over to the right-hand side, you're going to see that the Medicare premium started out at $165 and it ends as high as $560 a month. If you have income less than $97,000, if you're single, and $194,000, if you're joint returned, you're going to pay the $165. Where this becomes important, and we're working with a woman right now, she lost her husband last year. She filed in 2022, married filing jointly. In 2023, she's going to file single. Her taxes are going to go up. She's going to have less money. Her taxes are going up by about $4,000. But what we also told her, because her income when she was married was under $194,000, they were paying the $165. But now that she's a widow and she has to take all of the RMDs as they were as a married couple, her income is going to be over $123,000. And so with that, she's going to be paying, and her Medicare cost is going to double. She's going to be paying $330 a month for a Medicare. We had a retired teacher that was making $60,000 a year, sold a piece of rental property. She didn't want to be a landlord anymore. And now her Medicare premium is $527 a month for 1 year. And so this surcharge, which is called an IRMA, is a look back of 2 years. So in the woman that I was told you about who lost her husband last year, she won't be paying that higher premium for 2023, but in 2025, the Social Security Administration is going to send her a letter, and it's going to say your new Medicare premium is $330 or whatever they decide it's going to be 2 years from now. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about nursing homes, okay, or extended care options. We all know of somebody that has been in the nursing home, and one of our fears is we don't want it to be us. So when we talk about nursing homes, one of the biggest fears that a lot of women have is that they don't want all of their money to go to pay to a nursing home. Obviously, they would rather have it go to their kids, if they have kids or grandkids, or to a favorite charity. But the nursing home is something that they're trying to protect their money from. So what is the cost of a nursing home? 75% of people over 65 most likely are going to need some type of long-term care or extended care coverage. The average cost of home health care is $30 plus an hour. A one-bedroom assisted living, as you can see, is over $50,000 a year. And the average cost of a nursing home could creep up, depending on what state or what county you live in, to $120,000 and in some cases more. The average stay is 3 years, except if you have Alzheimer's or dementia or another chronic illness like that. A nursing home stay could last 7 to 10 years, which again could take its toll on our assets. So when we work with women, the questions that we get is, well, when should I consider long-term care? And the answer to that is that anywhere between 55 and 70 is the best time to consider that. But there are options for folks that are 75, 80, and 85 years old that get concerned about long-term care. And we'll touch on them. But again, this is another question that you should ask during our strategy call. This is an important topic to talk about when it comes to your holistic plan. So the other question is, do I really need long-term care? And the answer to that is that if you have assets that are less than $300,000 as a kind of a ballpark foundation, then you probably don't need long-term care. But if your assets are between 300,000 and let's say 5 million, you really may want to consider what your options and your choices are so that you can rule this in or out. But again, knowing is something that you really need to know, right? So the next question, and this is an important one that we get a lot, is can I buy this protection for extended care or long-term care without losing the money that I put into it if I never need the coverage? And the answer is yes. Long-term care policies have evolved over the last 10 or 15 years. So let's take a look at the different types. We have our traditional health-based long-term care, and that long-term care is ones that your parents may have had. I know my mom did. She had Unum. But those traditional long-term care policies, number one, are very expensive today, and their premiums are not guaranteed. So as an example, last year I had some clients that had long-term care policies they had bought many years ago, 20 some years ago. And 2 years in a row, their premiums went up by over 90%. And they're in the late 70s. So in your late 70s or early 80s, when your long-term care insurance premiums go up, you really have to pause and give thought to, I've paid into it all these years and I'm getting closer to when I might need it. So should I pay? So we typically don't deal with these traditional long-term care policies like they used to be because one, most of the insurers are not in that space anymore. There are only 1 or 2 companies that actually sell these policies. Most companies have gotten out of the business altogether. So what does that leave us? We have a hybrid long-term care policy that actually involves either life insurance or annuities, right? So how does that work? We put the money in, we can pay a monthly premium, we have a death benefit and cash value buildup and the insurance, excuse me. But one of the things that we also have is that if we wanted a benefit of $4, $5, or $6,000 a month, that insurance policy will spin off a long-term care benefit on a monthly basis. If we don't need that money or never used it, then somebody or us can take the money out based on the cash value that we have, or money will go to our beneficiaries upon our death. These hybrid policies are very friendly. They're geared more towards living benefits than death benefits, and we would highly encourage you to explore that option. And then the third option is what we call an asset strategy, which is investment based. So if you had money that was in CDs that wasn't earning that much, right now CDs are paying higher, but those rates will roll back down. If those CDs are just kind of sitting there and you're not really going to use that money, a lot of folks are putting it into this asset-based strategy for long-term care. The money will go in, it will continue to earn interest. If we need to take that money back out, we can take that sum of money back out. So we're not losing any of that money. But if we needed care, that money, let's say it's $100,000 that we put in, would spin off $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month in benefits. So again, another strategy that we would highly recommend that you explore to see if this is something that you want to build into your overall plan. Is it important to you to have the freedom to choose where you want the care and make sure that you're not a burden on the ones that you love? Okay, so let's switch gears again. Estate planning. Estate planning is absolutely a part of your holistic plan. It is something that is there for when you're living, and obviously it's there to give directions when you die. So when you're living, if you become incapacitated, the directions are already there to how to handle things, who you want to handle things. And then when you pass away, the estate plan is peace of mind, right? It gives your executor or your kids or whoever might be in charge of your estate a plan where they're not guessing what you wanted to happen. So when we take a look at these statistics, 42% of adults only have an estate plan that's a will or a living trust. There's a lot of folks who have not done this type of planning. And only 53% of adults have healthcare power of attorney, and not too many have a financial power of attorney. The healthcare power of attorney is necessary. We'll talk about that in a minute, and so is your financial power. So when we talk about estate planning, at the very least, we're going to recommend that you have a will, right? If you don't have a will, the state has one for you. And even though you're not here, your assets may not go to who you want them to go to. Another thing with a will versus a trust, on the bottom you can see a living or revocable trust. A will is public information. When you pass away, if your estate or any piece of your estate is probated, that is public knowledge. Anybody can see what you had. Financial power of attorney, again, is a must. If you become incapacitated, let's say you're in an accident, they had to induce a coma, and you couldn't make financial decisions, and you needed somebody to pay your mortgage and your taxes, you needed somebody to get in access your IRA to pay those bills, they won't be able to do so because they're not on the account. Healthcare power of attorney, again, if you're in that coma or if you're incapacitated, if you had cancer or you had a stroke, you want to make sure that you are assigning somebody that understands your wishes and will carry out those wishes for you. Otherwise, you could become a vegetable and the hospital will keep treating you potentially against your wishes or what you may want to have done. A healthcare directive is something as simple as putting in your will or your trust that you don't want to remain in a vegetative state for a prolonged period of time. So those healthcare directives are very important too. Beneficiary reviews. We're working with somebody a woman whose husband, it was a second marriage, husband died. The wife found out that the husband never changed the deed to the house, and the house was left to his first ex-wife. And the current wife, who they've been married for quite a period of time, had to move out of that house. So again, these beneficiary reviews are extremely important. Transfer on death, TOD, helps you avoid probate, and then a living or irrevocable trust. If you're not sure about these, we're going to again encourage you to come in and talk to us. Put this in your strategy session, because if you don't have an estate plan, somebody has one already in place for you. Estate planning is peace of mind, and it's knowing that your wishes are going to be carried out. And in the case, if you have kids, it's going to ensure that your kids aren't going to be fighting about what mom may have wanted, right? So this estate plan becomes extremely important. So we would think about talking about Social Security, about long-term care, about estate planning, about all the things that we just talked about. That is really the end of maybe what you should be thinking about, but really is just the beginning. Now we need to take a look at things that we've touched on and figure out now how to put your lifetime income plan or your lifestyle plan together. Okay, and so we've gotten a lot of questions that have some personal questions in our chat box. And what we want you to do is be able to sign up for that strategy session, or answer the phone when we call you after this session, so that we can answer some of those questions for you, or schedule, again, a 20 to a 40-minute Zoom or in-person session to answer some of these questions. Okay, so now let's get started on something that's going to show you how to put your plan together, and show you maybe what not to do. So emotion and logic, right? As women, we're emotional, and we're logical. But when it comes to our investments and our money, a lot of times we get very emotional. The market's been down for the last 15 months, right? And so what do we all want to do, or contemplated very hard, that we want to pull our money out. And we're told, no, just let it sit and ride. But we're not sure about that, because we're not sure of our total plan. So let's take a look at that. We've been through 2000, 2002, 2007, 2009, COVID, and now 2022 and 2023, where markets have been down significantly, right? During these time frames, you could have lost anywhere from 10 to 50% of your money, depending on where it was. And when we take a look at that, there's really three phases of investing. We buy, we sell, and then a lot of us panic, right? When some of these things pop up, like the last year and a half, we panic. We're not sure what to do with our money. And we really need to avoid that panic. And we avoid that panic if we have the right plan in place. And the right plan in place gives you peace of mind of knowing that if the markets are going to go up and down, that we're not going to get stuck in a down market pulling our money out. So if we think about panicking, we think about we think we can time the market. And so the timing of the market means that we're pulling money out as the market goes down. And then we think when we feel that the market has bottomed out, that we'll get back into the market. But we're panicking all along that we may not be sure, because it's a guessing game, right? So we want to talk to you about what we call the fragile decade. And we want to talk to you about one of the things that we consider your biggest risk, which is sequence of return risk. The fragile decade is really 5 years before you retire and 5 years after you retire. We need to protect that money, because we need to plan on what income you're going to need to take out of your savings. So Kiplinger's defines sequence of return risk as this: if the market tanks in the early years of your retirement, you could be in big trouble unless you're prepared. And we feel the same way. Sequence of returns may be the biggest risk that retirees face. So what does that actually mean? Risk is associated with the order of the returns that your investments receive. Markets will go up and they'll go down. And as you know, returns can be positive or they can be negative. But what we need to understand is, does the order of the money when we are retired and we're starting to pull money out because of lifestyle or because we have to with required minimum distributions, does the order of those down and up markets matter, okay, during this distribution phase? So let's take a look at an example that we have. We have Miss Happy, and obviously we have Mr. Unhappy. And we're taking a look at distribution. During the accumulation years, when we're all working and putting money into our 401ks, and we're kind of, like I said before, set it and forget it. The markets went down, but we didn't feel the pinch that much because we keep flooding our investments with more money, right, from our paychecks. But now we've entered into the distribution phase when we're actually using some of that money. So here, Miss Happy put in $100,000 and her average return was $6,000. But in this distribution phase, she had to pull out $6,000 a year, either because she needed to for lifestyle or because she had to for required minimum distributions. So here's the chart. Let's take a look at it. In the first couple of years, she had great returns, 30% the first year, 20% the second year. She's pulling out her money, and you can see after that she gets a 10% return. But in the last 2 years, the 9th and 10th year, she loses 20 and 30%. Those were her bad returns. But she still ended up, after pulling out $60,000, she averaged that 6% return and still had $105,000 in her account. So now we have Mr. Unhappy, and we take a look at his situation. Same thing, same deposit, same return, same withdrawals. The problem is that he retired, when he had to stop pulling money out. It was similar to those 3 periods that I had talked to you about before. And let's say 2022 and 23, his bad years happened early in his withdrawals. So he had that 100,000. The first year he lost 30. The second year he lost 20. So after pulling out his money in the second year, he only had $45,000 left in his account. He earned then 10%. And then look what happened. He had 2 great years in year 9 and 10. He earned that 20 and 30% back. But look what happened to his investment. He had less than $40,000 left after that 10 years. Now, again, he still had the same average 6% rate of return. He just experienced bad returns in the first few years of his retirement, which is going to cause him to run out of money very soon. And this is what we want to avoid. This is where panic sets in. Okay, so you'll see again here, if we had good returns in our early years, we have 105,000. Bad returns in our early years, we have basically a third of that, right? Which is going to cost us to run out of money soon. If that happens, all of our fears as women comes true, right? We have no choices. We become a burden on other people. We don't want to go back and live with our kids, right? Okay, so sequence of returns is defined by Investopedia as a matter of luck, right? If you retire in a bull market, your account can grow enough to sustain a subsequent downturn. But if you retire in a bear market like we're in right now, your account may never recover. Mr. Unhappy now has less than $38,000. How the heck is he going to keep withdrawing $6,000? He's not going to be able to. So the moral of the story is losing money in our early years of retirement can hurt you. This is extremely important. If you are in a period of time where you're taking money out of your investments and you experience losses like we've had just recently in the last couple of years, you will know that there's a better way, right? We have to safeguard some of that money. So what should we do, right? We need to put guardrails on our retirement plan to keep from falling off the cliff. We want to preserve some of our money so that you can have the money that you need sooner rather than later. We want to make sure that we're not going to run out of money. So how do we do that? When we take a look at holistic retirement planning, we need to take a look at all aspects of all the things that we've already covered. But when we do that, we want to make it simple, right? Because as women, we want to be educated first, and we want to understand what our options are and what our choices are before we make decisions on anything. So what we do is we put together a very simple plan for you. We call it the bucket plan. And we take a look at segmenting your money into the time frames that you're going to need the money and positioning them to do a job for you and do the job that it needs to do. We have our now bucket, we have our soon bucket, and we have our later bucket. So our now bucket is simply money that we're going to need in the next 12 months. It's there for emergencies or it's there for comfort, right? A lot of folks that I talk to, they say, hey, Gayle, I want to make sure that I have 10 or 20 or $40,000 in the bank at all times. It just makes me feel good. We also look at this now bucket for any planned expenses that we're going to do over the next 12 months as well. So that money obviously needs to be safe and it needs to be very, very liquid. And we know that we're going to sacrifice returns on this now bucket, but we also know, most importantly, that the money is going to be there when we need it to be there. The key is that we don't want to overfund this now bucket, right? Because our money has jobs for us and that money needs to grow. So now we have this soon bucket. Remember I said we want to put guardrails on our financial plan. Well, that's really this soon bucket. That money needs to be conservative because it's going to provide us with an income. And this money that's in this bucket needs to avoid that sequence of returns risk. We can't be pulling needed money out when the markets are down. Okay? This bucket here is designed to grow, but it's going to grow maybe at 3 to 5% on the average. But most importantly, the money is going to be there to provide the income that you need it to. It's going to avoid market risk, and it's also going to avoid that sequence of return risk, which is extremely important. We need to preserve our money, okay? Not all of it. And again, we don't want to overload this bucket as well. We want to fill this bucket with as much money as we need to do the job that we need. And lastly, we have our third bucket, which is our later bucket. That later bucket is designed most likely to be invested in the market. We need a little bit more growth on that money because eventually our soon and our now bucket might be depleted. And so our later bucket needs to grow enough that we can replenish the other two buckets. So this is designed for long-term growth. It's typically designed, the money that we put into this bucket, that we're not going to touch for 7 to 10 years. And if that money that we know is designed to sit and grow for 7 to 10 years, we know the market's going to have some bumps and bruises along the way. But we also know that we're not going to have to pull the money out in a down market, right? And so this bucket, again, becomes critical. And what we're looking for is a average return, let's say, of 5 to 7.5% in this bucket. So we have our three buckets designed to be simple. It's pretty powerful, and it's very, very effective. These buckets are designed to do a job for you. It's designed to segment the money into different time periods like we talked about, but it's also designed to make sure that these buckets are as tax efficient as possible, right? Because again, taxes will take the biggest bite out of our retirement money. Uncle Sam knows that most of us have larger IRAs or 401k accounts, and they also know that they control that money, right? They can tax that money at whatever rate that they need to, and they know that we are required to pull that money out. We have no choice. So we want to be conscious of taxes. So we designed these bucket plans, and we have this book, the Bucket Plan book, written by our friend Jason Smith, that has won awards. It's been a bestseller on Amazon and other venues. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to send this book out to you free of charge. It is so important that you understand how your money can work for you and the best places to put your money and why. And so when we give you a call after this webinar, where if you want to provide your address to us, we'll send that out to you priority mail. It's a short read. It's about 140 pages. If people don't have time to read, I tell them put it in the bathroom. And when you're in the bathroom, pick it up and read a couple pages each time. Important book, and it's important to help you design your bucket plan. So when we talk about two other things that I want to go over with you quickly. The first thing is tax increases for women who lose their spouse. So here we have John and Sally. They're both over 65. John's Social Security is 20, Sally's is 10, and they're taking out 30,000 from their IRAs, which puts them in a federal tax that's going to be due of $988. But now, sadly, John passes away, and Sally loses her Social Security check. She gets John's because John is the larger one, but she still needs to have that $60,000 a year coming in. So she pulls the money out of her IRA. And what that creates is a federal tax liability of $5,300, 442% increase. We've seen this happen many, many times. We know it will happen. And January 1st of 2026, taxes are going up if Congress does nothing. It's already written into the code that taxes will revert back to 2017. And Sally's taxes in that case would be even higher. It is important to do some tax planning. And when we talk about tax planning, we often talk about the tax management journey. And we talk about not all money is taxed the same, right? We want you to understand the order of your money. Remember, we told you of those three buckets. We told you that we have accumulation phase and we have our distribution phase. And we talked to you about putting guardrails on your plan. That's our preservation phase. We want you to understand where and how you should be pulling money out of your buckets. We want to make sure that you understand your tax brackets and that we're what we call measuring your tax brackets. If you're in a 10% bracket and you still have room before you bumped into that 12% bracket, maybe you should consider some Roth conversions. Maybe you should consider taking more money out of your IRAs. Push the limit to that 10%. Remember, I told you taxes are going to go up. If you're in a 12% bracket, make sure you're taking full advantage of that 12% before you bumped into a 22. It's extremely important that we understand this because, again, taxes are going to take the biggest bite out of your retirement. We want to avoid marginal tax traps. We want to understand long-term capital gains, right? We want to understand how dividends and long-term capital gains, ordinary dividends, interest earnings, all affect our tax brackets. We want to take a look at your investments. We want to make sure that you're allocating your investments the right way. If you have non-qualified or after-tax money, we want to make sure that you're not generating unnecessary taxes. A lot of folks in 2022 got a 1099 for a lot of money on an account that they actually lost money in, because that account was buying and selling different stocks and generating capital gains, even though we saw no gains in our account. We want to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. You want to explore gifting strategies. Does that make sense to you? How does it actually work? And most importantly, we want to look at pay now versus pay later, right? Should we be taking some money out now, converting it into Roth IRAs? I don't know the answer to that, but we do have software that can help you determine if that's in your best interest. Should we be doing some of those Roth conversions or Roth-like conversions now before taxes go up in 2026, before we have to start taking those required minimum distributions, before our required minimum distributions get larger and larger because hopefully our accounts are growing? We also have a unique strategy that we use. It's called the IRA recapture strategy, which is a strategy that we use. And again, we're using insurance programs that are structured the right way that allows you to convert that money, your IRA, into this strategy, the IRA recapture strategy. And what happens is we're able to pay the taxes for you as opposed to you writing a check out to the IRS. So the Roth conversions, the IRA recapture program, two strategies that if you have IRAs, you want to take a look at now before taxes go up. And we want to make sure that you're managing your tax brackets efficiently so that your income is higher and obviously your taxes are lower. So when we take a look at that, we take a look at these funnels. Most people aren't familiar with these funnels. We like pictures. Most of our money is in IRAs and 401ks and or pensions, and that money is all taxed as ordinary income. Some of us have brokerage accounts and bank accounts. Some of us own more real estate than our primary residence. Some of these accounts have preferential treatment, right? We have capital gains, which is less than ordinary income in most cases. But most of us aren't filling this tax advantage funnel. Those are with Roth IRAs or Roth plans. Cash value life insurance, as I talked to you about, is structured the right way. So we want to explore making sure that we have enough money in this tax advantage funnel, that we're not in a position like Sally was. If we lose our spouse, our taxes are going to go way up. If we needed to take money out, we can take it out of this tax advantage or tax-free funnel. So we want you to get educated on your tax efficiency, and we want you to know what you have in your funnels. Okay, so what's the next step? We want to help you put your lifestyle plan together. We want you to have less stress. We want you to have more confidence in your plan. We want you to become an active member in managing your plan. So we want to schedule a 20-minute call with us, Zoom or in person, so that we can answer questions that are unique to your situation. We can take all the pieces of everything that we spoke about and put them together in a plan that you understand. We want to make sure that when we ask you the question, or when you ask the question, what's the purpose of my money? You have the answers. And then we put the bucket plan together for you so that you can see how you're going to accomplish everything you want to accomplish and live the lifestyle that you want to live. So sign up for our free consultation, and we are confident that you're going to get more information than you thought that you could receive, and you're going to receive information that you can implement and strategies that you can put into place that are going to make you feel more confident. So with that, again, we want to offer you the Bucket Plan book. We want to be able to send this to you. You'll get it priority mail. We want you to read it, and then we want to be able to help you put together the strategies that you're going to need to feel confident about your own situation. We want you to take control and take charge, right? And understand what you need to do. So give us a call, 239-908-4030. Schedule something on our calendar, on our website, or we'll be calling you shortly to answer any questions that you may have, get your feedback on this webinar, and then schedule a more in-depth strategy session so that we can answer the questions that you have. Okay, with that, we want to thank you for attending today. We're going to have more of these webinars. We'll have more webinars for women in Social Security, taxes and retirement for women, and we're welcome to get feedback from you as to what else you want to hear. So with that, thanks for attending.